How to reply to these mindless Trump cultists? That is a question I get quite frequently, and I want to deal with that here, specifically with regard to a question I received this morning on Facebook. By the way, if you're on Facebook, please follow the Romano Report on Facebook. I'm also on, and I understand if you're not on Facebook, I'm also on Blue Sky, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Substack. I'm out there, so choose your platform. Anyway, question I got on Facebook this morning had to do with the Epstein files. You know, Jeffrey Epstein and those files, those thousands of pages that is in the hands of the Department of Justice that Donald Trump is trying so desperately to cover up because he's, as we know, in the Epstein files, and he doesn't want us to know what those files say about him. And they got to be pretty damn bad for him to go to this extent to cover them up, including this phony summit meeting with Putin to distract attention. Anyway, I got a question about that, and specifically what Trump cultists say about the Epstein files. And this person wrote to me, "Happy Sunday. I hate the argument that, quote, the Dems could have released the files. Could you please comment on that?" Yes, I will. Thank you for the question. First of all, it's not the Dems that could have released the files. It's the Biden administration who could have released the files. To be a little bit more specific, I mean, Democrats in Congress couldn't do anything to release the files. A couple things about this. Now, first of all, I will answer the question substantively in a minute. But when you're dealing with Trump humpers, generally speaking, it doesn't matter what you say to them. If they're truly a Trump cultist, there is nothing you can say to convince them. And they live for whataboutism. You know, whenever there's an issue, well, what about Biden? What about Democrats? You know, that's all they can do. It is the go-to response of the hopelessly stupid. It's all they can manage. They think it's a real killer argument. They don't realize how stupid they look. You know, because stupidity in the Trump cult is how you fit in. I mean, if you're intelligent, you're not part of the Trump cult to begin with. So they resort to whataboutism, and they really don't care what you say. However you respond, whatever the issue is, they're just going to ignore, and you know, if they can't double down on whataboutism, they'll just change the subject to something else. So if your goal, you have to be realistic about what your goal is. If your goal is to convince a Trump humper on any issue, you're not going to do it. But there are people who are not necessarily full-on members of the cult who maybe you can reach with appeals to reason and facts. And also, it depends upon the circumstances. So my point is, if you're trying to convince the Trump cultist, you're probably wasting your time. Now, if you want to waste your time and engage, you know, have at it, but just don't expect that you're going to get anywhere with them. So you might not even want to bother. But another thing to consider is anybody else listening? If it's a face-to-face conversation, are there any other people there who you might be able to persuade by your response to the Trump humper? Because you're not going to get anywhere with the Trump humper. But if there's other people there listening, they might not be a full-on Trump humper, and what you say might resonate with them. And you might be able to persuade and convert, you know, someone who's listening. And especially if it's online. Like I mentioned, Facebook. Say you're on Facebook. and there's some friend of yours from high school or some family member or whatever, and they do the, well, what about Dems? They could have released the files. What about Biden? What about? Other people are going to see your back and forth with that person. So you might want to engage with that moron just so that other people can hear what you say. Because they might never have heard what you're going to say before, especially if they live in an information bubble like the Trump humper. Anyway, okay, so just keep that in mind. Generally speaking, you can't reason with these people, and they're just going to double down on stupid. Now, to the particular issue here, how do you respond to these Trump cultists who say, well, what about Biden? What about Democrats? They could have released the files. Well, that's technically true. And I don't know why they haven't. I'm not privy to that information. I wasn't part of the Biden administration, so I honestly don't know. But what I will tell you, that as a former prosecutor myself, it is not proper for the Justice Department to release those files. Right? We're all calling for the release of those files, but understand that it's not proper, and that is typically not done. You don't release investigatory files. You only release this information in a court of law. And the reason is because there's a lot of stuff in those files. There's witness statements, there's hearsay and witness statements that have never been challenged. You know, the people who might be accused in those documents haven't had the opportunity to cross-examine under oath the people who are making these accusations against them. So the point is, it's untested information, statements, and all kinds of other stuff. I mean, there could be pictures and videos and all kinds of, we don't know what's in there. But generally speaking, it is not proper for the Department of Justice to release that information to the public, because you could destroy people's reputations and they can't do anything in their own defense. They can't put those people under oath and cross-examine them. You can only do that at trial. So it's unfair to release the information, because of people's lives can be destroyed by the accusations and information that might be in there that has not been subject to evidentiary processes and cross-examination and all those kinds of things in a court of law. And so it's just not proper to do it. Now, a couple of things about that. Now, I don't know if that's, before I get to it, I don't know if that's why the Biden administration did not release those files. I wouldn't be surprised if it was, because the big thing that Biden and Merrick Garland were, telling us that they wanted to do at the Department of Justice was return to the rule of law, to get politics out of the justice system and what the Department of Justice does. And if they were true to that, then they wouldn't release those files, because it's not proper. And there is no reason to do it other than for political reasons and because people want to know. But people wanting to know is not a legit reason from the Department of Justice's standpoint to release this information outside of a courtroom. So could it be that they were simply following standard practice as it has always existed at the Department of Justice, not to release that stuff? Maybe. I don't know. I really don't know. So if it's not proper to release it, then why are we all calling for it to be released? Including me. I want all of it to be released. And the reason is because Donald Trump and the Republican Party have made a big deal about the Epstein files and the whole thing for years. They have been pushing this to the cult literally for years. They have said over and over and over again that this was a cover-up, and they were covering up the Epstein story, the Epstein case, the Epstein files. And remember, he got this sweetheart deal to avoid trial in Florida. By the way, Republicans in Congress are subpoenaing all these people. They're not subpoenaing the U.S. attorney who gave Epstein that sweetheart deal, and to ask him any questions about what that was about and what he knows. They're not doing that. It's very, it's very telling, the people that they're choosing to subpoena and not subpoena. Anyway, they have been pushing this criminal conspiracy that the government is protecting this massive pedophile ring, largely to protect Democrats. That's what they have been pushing. And Donald Trump ran, in part, on releasing the Epstein files. He promised he would release the Epstein files. They all did. All of these Republicans said, you elect Donald Trump, he's going to release the Epstein files. He was asked about it. Will you release the Epstein files if you're elected? Yes, I will. So they're the ones who made an issue of this. Donald Trump is the one who said he was going to release them. So we should hold them to that. Especially since he himself is implicated in the Epstein files, which also makes it, completely different than the norm, right? So that's an important reason to release them. And so I understand sort of the hypocrisy here, but I don't give a shit. This is hardball politics in the future of the country. So whether it's proper or not, given all these reasons I explained, they should be released. And that's why I'm calling on them. But as to why Biden didn't, again, I don't know. And my job isn't to defend Biden. And here's the thing too. Don't allow yourself, when you're dealing with these Trump humpers, to feel like you have to defend anyone, really. Especially on this issue, don't feel like you have to defend what Joe Biden did. Don't feel like you have to defend Democrats or any other politician. And this is the thing too, and one of the responses that you could give to them is, look, release them all. We don't give a shit. If you're a Democrat, say, fine, I'm a Democrat, but I don't care. I don't want to protect Democrats. If there's Democrats in there, who cares? Let it all out. It's only Republicans who now support the cover-up. But back to my point, don't allow yourselves to be put on the defensive. It's not your job to defend politicians. And you shouldn't. And you lose credibility yourself when you do that. So, and when you are dealing with Trump humpers, it's good, if you can, to agree with them as much as possible, if for no other reason than as a rhetorical tactic. So when they say, yeah, well, Biden should have released the files. Biden could have released the files. Agree with them. You don't have to make the argument about how, well, it's not technically proper. That's not going to get you anywhere, okay? That's going to be completely lost on them. If you're really trying to make inroads with these Trump humpers, then say, you're right. I agree with you. Biden should have released them. So why don't you join with me now and call on Trump to release them? What is he hiding? Maybe Biden was trying to protect people. Maybe Biden was trying to protect the same people Donald Trump was supposed to protect. But you Trump supporters tell us that Donald Trump is different. That's why you love him. He's different. He's not protecting the deep state. He's not protecting all these child predators. You say that Biden is fine. Maybe that's why Biden didn't release him. But why isn't Trump? Trump's different, right? So maybe you take that approach with him. But the point is, don't let yourself be forced into a position of defending anybody. And you shouldn't anyway. You shouldn't reflexively defend any politician or any party. That's part of the problem in this country. Don't be part of the problem. You can support a political party or a politician or a candidate without defending every damn thing that they do. Their lies, their failures, their broken promises. Don't defend it. Too many people do that. You lose all credibility when you do that. You can support someone and still be critical of them. Politics is a choice. More often than not, and almost all the time, your choice is between two imperfect people. I mean, everyone is imperfect. But sometimes your choices are between two really shitty candidates, and you got to make a choice. And just because you vote for one doesn't mean you have to defend them in all things. Don't do that. And by the way, When you vote for a politician or a political party, and you let it be known to them that you're going to defend them no matter what they do, no matter their failures, no matter their lies, no matter their broken promises, then they just take you for granted. And you lose your ability to pressure them to do what you want. Because they figure, what are you going to do? Nothing. You're going to vote for me no matter what. I can see because you defend me no matter what I say, no matter what I do. So you will always be there to vote for me. When political parties and politicians believe that of you, they have no respect for you. And they don't feel any need to keep their promises to you. Or really to care what you say about anything. If they know you're always going to be there for them to defend them no matter what. Just don't do it. And don't do it with the Trump humpers. Okay? Anyway, that is the answer to the Epstein thing. The answer is, I don't know why Biden didn't. I wish he had. I wish they had done a lot more to play hardball. Particularly Merrick and Garland waiting 2 years to appoint a special counsel. But they wanted so badly to appear apolitical. But the truth is, we don't know why they didn't. And it doesn't matter. Because don't allow them to put you on the defensive. You put Trump on the defensive. And you can do that by agreeing with them. Yeah, Biden should have. Now let's get back to Trump, who's president right now and who can release those files today. Joe Biden doesn't matter anymore. Let's talk about Trump. Trump is in the files. He's covering them up. Why won't you join me in pressuring him to release the files? Anyway, that's it for now. I think I made my point. I appreciate the question. By the way, keep them coming. I do like to answer these questions as much as I can. But thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.